Hey everyone, welcome back to CF's Heroes of Sport. My name is Bob Babbitt, co-founder of the Challenge Athletes Foundation. Every week, we get to chat with some of our amazing Challenge athletes. And this week, we're talking a little sled hockey with Taylor Lipsett and Andy Yohe. How you guys doing?
Good.
Fantastic, Bob. Thanks for having us.
It's always an honor. And thank you so much for being involved with the sled hockey clinics. You guys just did Park City, you did one up in Boise, you got another one coming up in Park City. So Andy, talk a little bit about the clinics and what happens at the clinics and how much fun they are.
Yeah, we're lucky enough Taylor and I have been coaches at the last couple clinics, and basically Challenge Athletes Foundation has just done a great job of rounding up a bunch of athletes. Anybody who's interested in sled hockey can come out and give it a try. And so we've had great success with quite a few new skaters out there. And I think people are having fun. They seem to really enjoy them. And I think they're definitely well worth the time. That the athletes seem to get a lot out of them, and they're having fun out there. So that's all we care about.
So Taylor, you guys both two-time gold medalists in Sochi and in Vancouver. You guys competed together in Turin, where you got the bronze in 2006. Take me back to getting into sled hockey and what your first memories were of Andy.
Oh man. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I got into sled hockey shortly after the 2002 Paralympic Games in Salt Lake. I ran into Lonnie Hanna's mother-in-law. Lonnie was a member of that gold medal team in 2002, and she was telling me all about sled hockey in the Paralympics. And I went out a week later to try it for the first time, and it literally changed my life on the spot, right then and there. And, that's one of the main goals that we hope that some of these clinics, impact other people in the same way that as soon as they hit the ice, it changes their life. But yeah, me and Andy go way back to 2005, 2006. We played on the same line for a number of years together. So, had lots of fun, always been pretty close. And now we still get to travel with each other and do CAF clinics around the country and catch up every once in a while.
I love it. And so you were diagnosed with Osteogenesis Imperfecta, basically brittle bone disease. How old were you when you were diagnosed, and how did it change you?
I was diagnosed when I was 5, but I broke for the first time when I was 1.5. And, the biggest thing about having the official diagnosis was that's when doctors basically said that sports were going to most likely be out of the question. And I was a pretty athletic, little kid growing up in Texas, throwing the football around and baseball and things like that. And, so it was tough. And so I spent most of my life just focusing on schoolwork and stuff. I wanted to be a doctor, so I focused on making, the highest possible grades that I could, because I could do homework whether I was in the hospital or at home recovering or actually in the classroom. So I didn't play any sports until I actually got introduced to sled hockey at 15. And so, yeah, it filled a huge void in my life that, I'd always wanted to be a part of a team. And it finally gave me that opportunity.
So you had 15 years without sport. I think people underestimate the power of sport and how, the social part of it, but just the adrenaline, all that comes with it. And when you got sport, it sounds like you grabbed it by the throat.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%.
And so when you Team USA, you played with the Dallas Ice Hawks, with the Rehab Institute of Chicago Blackhawks. You've played all over the place. People see sled hockey during the Paralympics, but they don't realize that there's leagues all the time. You guys can play all the time.
Yeah, there's a number of teams around the country. I think we're up to over 60 programs around the country. So lots of opportunities for people out there to get involved and play the sport. And then there are a handful of leagues as well, where teams participate in monthly, mini tournaments, and then all fight for a championship at the end of the season at the USA Hockey Disabled Festival. So yeah, it's quickly growing here in the US, and it's been awesome to see its growth over the last, decade or so.
So Andy, for you were a competitive roller hockey player for the Iowa Young Guns. September 1994, you lost both legs in an accident, run over by a train. How long did it take you to find sport again?
Well, I took a little different journey to find sport. I actually, I mean, when I was, before I got hurt, I played all sports. So there wasn't anything I didn't want to play. Growing up, every season I played a new sport. So I had a little different take on it, but I knew right away after I got hurt that I needed to get into some sport because I have such a competitive drive, and I love being on a team and love being a part of it. So I actually started playing wheelchair basketball probably 6 months after I got hurt. And I was just lucky that they had a program in the town I'm from. And so that's where I got my start. And I played competitive wheelchair basketball for probably 10 years. Played for several different teams around the Midwest, played for a national championship in juniors. And then I made it to Division II national. Third, I think, was the best we got in Division II. And then it was right after that, actually, after I competed in wheelchair basketball, that I was like, I gotta try some other sports. And there was a guy that was from my local community who had been wouldn't leave me alone about trying sled hockey. He'd started a program locally, knew I played before, and like came to my work and tried to get me to play and called me several times. And so he was adamant about getting me to play it, and he knew something apparently that I didn't. So as soon as I got in a sled, though, I immediately fell back in love again. I loved to skate before I got hurt, so I'd just been kind of putting it off because I never imagined that, you know, it could be that fast out there, and it could be as fun as it was before I got hurt. So I'd kind of been putting hockey in the background, but once I tried it, it was so awesome, and I'm so glad I did. You know, I encourage everybody out there to give everything a try. You know, I don't think you may not know the sport that you're going to love and have a passion for. So you got to get out there and you got to try everything that's available to you.
So Taylor, for you, when I look at 2006, you guys get the bronze medal. And I'm guessing when you're on the podium, it's great, but you don't really want to be looking up at anybody. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
So did it almost become a team mantra that, okay, we got the bronze, that's nice, it's a good starting point, but when we go to Vancouver, we're not going to be happy unless we get the gold?
Yeah, we literally had a meeting with most of the young guys on the team, you know, Andy, me, Taylor Chase, a handful of others after the bronze medal game, and basically all kind of devoted to each other that we were going to do whatever we had to do the next 4 years to make sure we played for gold in Vancouver. And, you know, that's exactly what we did. You know, people made different types of sacrifices. Andy moved across country so he could train more leading up to Vancouver. I switched majors from pre-med to finance so that I had more time to train and compete. And so people made huge sacrifices, you know, over those 4 years and put in a ton of work to make sure that, you know, we were playing for gold in Vancouver. And you couldn't have written a better script going undefeated with 5 shutouts to bring that gold back to the U.S.
Well, and then you defend. Right. It's one thing to win the gold, but then to come back 4 years later in Sochi and win it again.
Yep.
So that commitment that led into 2010, that just, hey, we got the gold, but it doesn't mean much unless we defend it.
I think it's still, you know, it was different the second time around. You know, we were all more mature. We had started families. A lot of guys were working full time. So the commitments, I think, were different. But obviously still tons of sacrifice and hard work that goes into it. But yeah, you got it. Once you taste, you know, gold for the first time, without a doubt, you want to defend it, and no country had ever defended it before. And now going into Beijing here, we have a chance to do it 4 times in a row. So pretty special. Now,
and will you be part of the broadcast team, Taylor?
I will. Yeah, I'll be commentating for NBC during the games, and super awesome to get that opportunity and, you know, kind of still be a part of it in a way.
I remember, and I'm not sure if it was, I think it was the last Paralympics, US and Canada was just this amazing game that I think aired in prime time, and people were calling me going, I had never seen this sport before. It was amazing. Have you seen just this way more awareness of the sport? And is Canada still the big rival?
Canada's definitely still the big rival, and we actually play them first. So we're gonna, start it off with a bang on March 4th. But yeah, the exposure that NBC and social media has had on, just the knowledge of the sport has been tremendous. And, Andy can speak for this as well. We go to a number of clinics and places all over the country now, and people are like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. And even in Park City, the past couple of weekends, we had people, sign up that didn't even have disabilities. They had just seen it before and they wanted to get out there and try it. And so, the events in Park City were super inclusive. We had disabled athletes, able-bodied athletes getting out there, which is, equally as impactful, because then those people share the word about the sport and about the availability of the sport to other people with disabilities. So it's been really cool to see the growth of the game and the knowledge and awareness of it throughout the country.
Andy, when you look back at obviously the commitment the team made after the bronze in 2006, was there one game that along the route to 2010 where you realized, okay, we're here, we're going to be a factor when it comes to Vancouver?
Yeah, I mean, it was, we had definitely made a full change in how all of us decided we were going to train, and the level that we took it to, we decided we were going to train like professional athletes. We were going to work out every day. We were getting ice, 4 or 5 days a week. And so we were definitely taking it very serious. And so it was a number one priority in most of our lives. And we felt like that's what we had to do in order to win gold. So yeah, that definitely, the mindset shift in how we trained definitely went right through 2010. I know, like myself, I couldn't train as hard in 2014 because I had my wife, I had a daughter, I had a full-time job. So it was more difficult to find the time to be able to commit, but I knew what it was going to take to win gold. So, I mean, we just had to push to train as hard as we could every day. I knew Canada was training as hard as they could every day. That's always in the back of your mind, knowing that, there's other guys out there coming for our spot. And so I just put in all the work I could. I know my teammates did too. We held each other accountable. We were in constant communication with each other, even though we lived across the country, to try to push each other. And so it was awesome.
So I'm guessing that before you lost your legs in 1994, you weren't thinking you were going to go to the Olympics in any sport. Then all of a sudden, one door closes, another one opens up, and you find out you could be a Paralympian, and not just a Paralympian, but a multiple-time gold medalist. When you look back at that guy sitting in the hospital bed back in 1994, what would you tell him now, knowing where you've come?
I would definitely just tell you to keep tell that person to keep their head up, keep fighting. There are, and this is what I thought at the time in the hospital. I knew that this bad time in my life wasn't forever, and that I was going to push forward, and there's going to be better days ahead. Lots of us go through dark times in our life, hard times in our life, face adversity, but it's really, you always got to keep in the back of your mind that there's these great days ahead. Not every day is going to be bad. You're going to have fantastic days in front of you. So just keep grinding, keep a positive attitude, and keep working hard. And you never know what's going to happen next. Life is full of changes, and you never know what's coming at you. So just always be ready and stay positive and try new things. Like I said before, you may not know what you're going to love next year, that just found a passion for. So keep trying, no matter how old you are. Maybe I still haven't found what I'm really good at, or the thing I really love. Who knows? It was sled hockey, but I've retired from that, and I'm always open to trying new things. And so I think everybody always should be out there ready to give new stuff a try. Life's full of changes. So
what's the best game you had, or is there one game that sticks out to you that, that's one I'll remember?
Well, I think the whole tournament in Vancouver was I was in the best shape of my life, hands down, like no doubt about it. I trained harder going into Vancouver than I ever have in my entire life for anything. And so I'd say like those 5 games were the best I'd ever been in my life. But my most memorable game is definitely 2009 in the World Championships. I scored in the gold medal game. I scored a goal with 11 seconds left. And so that's a childhood dream. You know, everybody wants to take that last second shot and score the winning goal for their team. And I got that opportunity in 2009 in the Czech Republic at the World Championships. So that definitely is a highlight of my hockey career. There was no higher moment for me than that. Winning gold was up there for those, but you know, those were just other great moments in my hockey career. But I'd say that 2009 one, I hadn't experienced gold yet anywhere. We hadn't won a tournament that big. So at the time that was huge for us. It gave us the number 1 seed going into Vancouver, which we really were fighting for. So it was an awesome time.
And Taylor, for you, is there a game that you look at as your best?
I mean, individually, I think probably my best game was the 2012 World Championship gold medal game. I think we played against South Korea. I actually had a hat trick in that game. And so that was probably my best individual game. But again, back to Andy's point, the whole tournament in Vancouver was just phenomenal the way it all played out. And then I was able to score not the game winning goal, but kind of the game sealing goal in the gold medal game in Vancouver with a few minutes left in the game to put us up 2-0 after Japan had really been putting on the pressure. So that was an awesome experience as well.
I love it. And for both of you, your exposure to CAF, when did you first connect with CAF and what were your thoughts? And start with you, Taylor.
Yeah, my first event was 2 years ago in Boise, right before the pandemic started. We got invited out to coach a clinic there, and it was phenomenal. I had a blast doing it. Everyone that was there were great people. Jen and Bailey that run CAF Idaho are just phenomenal human beings, and they do a great job with the program there. And then all the athletes that we had come out, everyone from, you know, little boys and girls that were like 5 years old all the way up to adults, were just so excited to be out there and so thankful for the opportunity that CAF gave them to try the sport. And now we can definitely see, after going back 2 years later, that you know, that desire to play sled hockey in Idaho is growing. And so we're excited to see kind of what the future holds now that those athletes have been exposed to it.
And for you, Andy, was that your first exposure as well?
Yeah, actually, I went out a couple of weeks before Taylor did, and did the first clinic there with our teammate Josh Sweeney, who's yes. Now a para-Nordic guy and just qualified for Beijing. He'll be competing in para-Nordic, but he was a sled hockey guy, and he and I did the first clinic there a couple of weeks before Taylor went. I was supposed to go back with Taylor again the second time, but I got sick, so couldn't make it. But I have all the same things to say that Taylor did. I came back and I just had just a fantastic, just a gratitude, overwhelmed with how awesome the people were. Not just the people working for the event, but all the people. Boise's a fantastic city, and all the people I met there that worked in for CAF were just fantastic. Jen and Bailey and Willie was there, and they just so welcoming. We had so much fun, the event just was so well run. They had so many volunteers. I mean, we had as many volunteers as we had skaters out there. Higher Ground is also another foundation that really helped get the sleds there for us. So shout out to them. But everything together. The people I met, the facilities, it was just fantastic. So I had the same feeling. I couldn't wait to do another event for CAF, and unfortunately, you know, the pandemic hit, so it slowed us down. But Taylor and I were both excited to get back there, and we're always about growing the game and through grassroots and getting out there and getting new people involved in sled hockey. So it was fantastic, and I have nothing but great things to say about the event and the folks that were involved.
Hey, thank you guys for joining us on CF's Heroes of Sport. Really, really enjoyed meeting you both. And thank you for all your support at these clinics. I'm guessing the kids and everyone else are just having the best time ever.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you both. Again, this is CF's Heroes of Sport. Taylor Lipsett and Andy Yohe have been our guests. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.